What do you do when you see someone lying in the street? Do you step over him and walk away? Or do you stop for a second and just look and go, oh, well, another drunk person or addict, so what, and walk away? Or do you stop and take a moment and see if there's something you can do about it? Today, we have a beautiful guest, Tina Blake, and we have Kevin Hyer again. Hello, everyone. This is Carina, Break Fear, Find Freedom. And we have a very interesting story today, and just listen and see how this unfolds. Hello, Tina. How are you today?
I'm good, Carina. How are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. And Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Carina.
How are you?
I'm excited to tell our story.
Yes, I'm excited to share the story. I think first we'll start a bit with Kevin. We have spoken to Kevin before, and the link to his story is at the bottom. But I just want to ask Kevin how he found himself at the end of his meth addiction, just so that we can put a bit of context, so that then we can bring in Tina.
Well, I was a goody-goody, as I jokingly call it, till I was 39. I had maybe tried edibles once or twice. I certainly did not have a history of drug abuse or even alcohol abuse. However, as I was dangerously close to 40, as I like to put it, I made a mistake. That mistake was I tried meth, and I got hooked right away. I was a lawyer in a large law firm in Philadelphia. My life wasn't bad, but it wasn't where I wanted it to be in my mind. I've learned a lot of gratitude in the last few years, but at the moment then, I lacked it. And I made a mistake. I thought meth would be the answer potentially, and of course it wasn't. Weeks later, I was fired from my job for poor performance, understandably. And then I spiraled going into COVID. And I continued doing meth until, well, the day I met Tina, and I'll let Tina take it from there.
Okay. Hello, Tina. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a bit about what that day when you met Kevin. What happened?
Well, it was a typical normal day. I was at home. My husband had came home from doing tree work, and he decided that he wanted to go dump his truck because he had a load of brush, and we have to go off of our property to dump the brush. Well, when we went to go out, we went by a property where we had permission to cut wood, and it just caught out of my husband's corner of his eye. He seen someone laying in the roadway that goes into the woods. And we backed up, and my husband and I went over there. Well, we found Kevin. At the time, I didn't know who he was. There was no car. There was no one around him. He was out of it. He, wasn't very alert or anything. So we called 911, because it was someone that needed help. We didn't know what the medical condition was or how he had even got there. Mm-hmm. And so we called 911 and got him help. And that's where our story began.
So what did you see? Why did you stop and help Kevin?
Well, it was someone that we knew wasn't supposed to be there. And it was just out of the ordinary for anyone to be there, but to be there in the shape that he was, we knew that he needed help. At the time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't think that, drugs didn't cross my mind or anything like that. To be truthful, I thought that someone had beat him and threw him out on the road or something, and I just did the only thing that I knew to do was to get him help, because I needed help.
What was he? Was he responsive? Did he speak to you, or did you wait for someone to come? And did you wait for 911 before you spoke to him? Did you try and speak to him?
I tried to speak to him. I kept asking him, his name. He was out of it a lot, but he would come to, he was able to tell me his name. He was able to tell me that where he was from and his father's name, because I kept trying to get information from him to keep him alert while 911 was on the phone, and then it was very hot that day. And so we got him a Gatorade out of the truck, to try to get him getting hydrated, because he was very dehydrated. Mm-hmm. And, but he kept going in and out on us. And we asked him if anyone had hurt him. And at first he was like, no. And then he said, yes, and so I was really worried because, like I said, there was no vehicle, there was no one around. He's not someone that we had ever seen in our neighborhood. And, we're back in the country on a back road. So, it's not typical to find someone like this. Mm-hmm. And so just glad that, we were able to find him and get him help.
Oh, that's beautiful that you did that. But Kevin, do you remember anything about that day?
So what I remember is this. I remember driving the night before, and I don't drive much at night due to a vision condition, but I was driving. I remember parking my car outside a farmer's entrance to their property, between two fences that were positioned so you could drive in. Mm-hmm. And the lawyer and me, I put the keys under the car so I couldn't get a DUI. But I was clearly overdosing on methamphetamine. And the meth that I had purchased was laced with fentanyl, which was a problem in Virginia in the summer of 2020. I remember getting out of the vehicle, and then really the next thing I know was lying on the ground. And I actually don't remember Tina and her husband. What I remember were the paramedics very slowly approaching me, and I was coming in and out of consciousness. Mm-hmm. Apparently, I also gave Tina a little attitude when she asked how old I was. I was just close to 40. Did you see a theme here?
What's up with this age thing?
we all have our crosses to bear, Carina. But in all seriousness, I mean, it was a terribly disturbing day. As Tina, who's now my friend, I said, not only do I thank her profusely for saving my life, but I also feel like I owe her an apology. That had to be so scary to be driving a country road. And again, where Tina and her husband live is not too far from where I was living at the time. It is the country. You just don't see, people lying in the woods. It isn't like a city where you might sometimes see the wreckage that comes with addiction.
Yes.
So from there, I remember bits and pieces of going to the hospital and them asking me what had happened. And I did tell them the truth, that I had methamphetamine, because my thought was, they can't help me if I don't tell them the truth.
Mm. Well, that was actually one little form of elucidation, which was a good thing at that moment, right? Probably said,
they can't save my life if they don't have all the facts. As an attorney, I'll say to a client, I can't help you if you don't tell me the good and the bad.
Yes, but really addiction is usually where you hate yourself so much you sabotage. So that was a good thing, right? Tina, what happened then? Because, you could have, once the paramedics arrived, you could have said, okay, my job's done, bye, and left and carried on going and doing whatever you were doing with your husband. But I don't think you did.
No, when the paramedics came and they got there, the way that they were acting, they automatically, from what I gathered from their actions, was this is drug related. And, I never looked at it that way. I've seen someone that was in need of help. They needed help. My husband actually helped get him into the ambulance. And then the police came, and the police also, they were like, oh, this is drug related, and that was it. They all left, took him to the hospital. And I'm a mom. And, I knew that he has a mom out there somewhere because I asked him, his father's name. So when I came home, which I'm 5 houses down from where he was found, I couldn't sit there and not do anything. So I got on Facebook and I tried to find his Facebook page. I found it. I went through his friends list and I was able to find someone with his last name, which ended up being, I believe, his sister-in-law, I believe. And so I contacted her on Facebook. Well, then she contacted me by phone, and I was able to give her information for his mother and father to contact me. And so they contacted me, and we went, I gave them all the information of where he was at, what had happened. And they went ahead and, went to the hospital and everything. And we've stayed in contact, on and off since then. And, I couldn't just sit and not do anything because I knew he had family. And, I just felt that the police and stuff, they wasn't going to try to locate no one because, the first things that they said, this is drug related. And, just assuming that, right off of the bat.
Wow. So that was beautiful, just the love of another human being without judgment. So that's already a beautiful story. How did that change once you came to, Kevin, and you realized where you were, and obviously, how did that change your perception of your life, knowing that some random person just loved you enough to save your life?
I think what it did was it set in motion, and this is actually on the website as part of my story, because at the time, as I was coming to, I contacted some of the people in my life that were very close to me to say, hey, I think I may be dying. I mean, I had the sacrament of last rites given. I was very, very, very ill. My parents cleaned out my home thinking it'd be easier to do before a funeral rather than after. I thought being, cling to a little bit of hope. Mm-hmm. And the story is on the website, but my best friend had a bipolar episode. And it just made me realize, I bargained with God, if I survive this, let me go tell this crazy story to try to help other people, and the cosmos shine down on me. My last name is Hyer, Hyer. So I found this to be my higher calling, Higher, to share the story, to break stereotypes of addiction. That's what I remember thinking is, Kevin, by the grace of God, your higher power, you survived this. And I shouldn't have. I should have died that night had I spent another 24 hours in the woods, that wooded area. Because again, this is in the middle of country, Orange County, Virginia. I wanted to go out there and repay the universe, by showing, stereotypes of methamphetamine addiction are not, attorneys in a big city. But what is a meth addict? Well, you're talking to one. Now I'm in recovery, it's behind me and I've moved forward. But, those stereotypes are so damaging because if you fit the stereotype, and again, I keep it real. If you fit that tweaker stereotype, you internalize it. And that's damaging. It's not for you. And if you don't meet it, you might not think you have a problem when you do. And that was part of my issue was it was very easy to say, oh, well, I'm not that. Well, no, I wasn't. But clean cut, nice people from the suburbs, as I joke, can have a drug problem.
Yes,
So
yes.
what I'm doing now with my foundation and with Tina, who's obviously a wonderful woman, I don't know, how do you start by saying, you're saving my life?
Sorry, Kevin, I'm going to break you I'm going to stop you 1 minute. Just keep that thought. I'm just thinking, sure. Can you see how you're talking about the higher, your higher calling, and how you weren't meant to be dead that night, right? Because God sent you an angel to save your life. And it's so beautiful to see how the synchronicities of life and how the patterns and how God works in mysterious ways to save your life. So, and if you go back, you'll see how, you have to chop the wood and you have to go and get wood and so it's really a beautiful thing. I just want to go back to Tina and say, Tina, how did you feel after that? How did you feel after you found Kevin's sister-in-law and knew that even though he was in such a bad condition, you somehow had a place in saving his life?
I knew that I had done the right thing. Because like I said, when they took him away, I just had that mom instinct, you got to get in touch with his mom. He's got family. And after I actually talked to his mother, I felt good. I knew that, he had someone that was going to be there with him. And it's kind of funny because I'm a recovering opiate addict, and I had been clean for 2 years when I found Kevin. And so I feel that, God put us in each other's path for a reason. And, I was a recovering addict. I'm still a recovering addict of 5 years, going on 5 years. Sorry.
Wow, congratulations.
And thank you. And, and then we find Kevin. Never once thought that it was drug related. I thought it was a health issue, and then didn't know, thought that maybe someone had beat him, never knowing. It never crossed my mind that it was drug related. But there are so many people that are out here that right off the bat, just like the paramedics and the deputies, first thing was, this is drug related. So I feel great that I was able to help him. And then we actually got to meet each other right before Thanksgiving. And, and like I told his mom, we all had a lot to be thankful for. And one was for Kevin still being with us, because God put us there for a reason. He made me and my husband go out at that time and find him, laying there. It was hard for a while because every time we go down through there, I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. They would point over there and say, man gone, because they were with us and we found him. So, and it's just, the whole story is remarkable.
Yes. And I also have to mention, it's quite interesting how, Kevin, you always speak about stereotypes, right? And how the ambulance, the paramedics, the police all said, oh, well, it's drug related. So, well, hey, there's nothing we can do. It's like, you know what, there's no hope, leave them alone and let's move on. So for you to be able to say, no, this is a human life, and he deserves a second chance, right? So that message is really, really beautiful as well. Kevin, how long did it take you before you actually realized what had happened to you? Because you were in a pretty bad state, right?
Oh, absolutely. The bottom line was, and I can't underscore enough that this how country this is. It's a very rural part near Lake Anna, Virginia, Orange County, Virginia. It's very rural. I mean, I should have died that night. And what I mean by that, just the odds of someone driving down that road, seeing me out of the corner of their eye. I was terribly dehydrated. I had sepsis. I had been lost in that wooded area. I had a serious gash in my hand. My kidneys shut down. I mean, that's the bottom line. What was going to kill me was kidney failure, and I was on dialysis for quite a while. As my mind slowly cleared, I realized I had survived it. And I mean this sincerely. I have many flaws in this world, but where my mind had went, as you said, is I believe so powerfully in the value of breaking stereotypes, because the police picked up correctly that it was a drug overdose, because that's what they do. Yes. But the bottom line is that we're all God's children, and yes. You don't know who somebody is, and you don't know the story, and it's probably a conversation for another time. Why at 39, what really drove this early midlife crisis, throw out to the age. But in all seriousness, when you hear the stories of how people got addicted, and I have, working with that community, yes, sexual assault, for lack of a better word, twisted family rituals. Oh, well, when I was 13, I started smoking weed with my dad. And then by 16, he was shooting me up with heroin. Those stories abound. And is it healthy? Of course it's not healthy, but it's a reality. And, as I may have said on another occasion, if somebody had a weight problem, and got diabetes, we wouldn't necessarily knock the poor decision so much of not having healthy eating habits, or they're speeding down the highway on a motorcycle and they get hurt. We would have compassion. Well, some people might say, don't speed down the highway on a motorcycle. I would liken the same thing to addiction. People have addictions because of pain in their lives. Mm-hmm. And when you can fill that with something to live for, some promise, the magic happens. And that's why in our foundation, I feel strongly about breaking these stereotypes that reinforces the stigmas. And in our case, because my background was employment law, we make an emphasis on helping people professionally and their families, because insurance just does not cover that. No, it's a reality.
No. Kevin, so what was it that day that drove you, excuse the pun, drove you down that road so high? Or what was it? Was it something that just, what? Can you even remember what was it that just pushed you over that edge?
Well, I can't remember all of it. I'm kind of piecing together like a tapestry of what happened. I know for a fact that summer in Virginia, there was a problem with methamphetamine being laced with fentanyl. So not that it's ever healthy to do meth, but my prior usages didn't quite have that out. So what drove me to that end was probably the fact that it was an overdose. But the pain inside was the fact that I wasn't where I wanted to be. I was very unhappy about being single again for the first time. My career was not where I had wanted it to be. I had a lot to be grateful for, but in that moment, part of my personal journey has been recognizing gratitude. I had a lot to be grateful for, but I wasn't happy. I was envious of other people. That's one of my flaws. I can be very jealous. And I didn't have what I wanted. And I was self-medicating that pain by using methamphetamine. And of course, that's the worst thing I could have been doing. But, drugs change your thought processes. That's part of the evil of it. And there are many evils of it.
Yes.
So what drove it, the answer was partially COVID. It was an excuse to hide away, from the world. And I self-medicated the pain instead of using healthy coping mechanisms, which is what I learned in rehab and what we're now sharing.
Yes. And that is so important, because a lot of people don't know those healthy, don't know how to cope. Well, thank you, Kevin. Tina, did you, even though you didn't think it was drug related, and I don't think it even made a difference whether it was drug related or not, but you did say you didn't think it was drug related. Do you think on some unconscious level, because you'd been there before, you probably recognized it as drug related, but you didn't want to admit it to yourself because, hey, you know what, it could have been you?
No, it never crossed my mind really. My main thing was to getting help, no matter who he was, you know, it didn't matter to me. It was someone that was in need of help and needed help. After they took him away and after I had talked to his family and everything, you know, I kind of went back and forth in my brain about it, you know, and questioned it. But then I was still like, no, there's no way, you know, because he didn't seem like that type of person. And again, the stereotyping. Yeah. And so, you know, and I was like, okay, the police kept right off the bat. They were, you know, to the point where they said, oh, it's drug related. But in my book, it doesn't matter if it's drug related or not. He's a human being. He needed help. And I was making sure that he got the help he needed.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So, Kevin, did that change your mind about gratitude?
Oh, absolutely. You know, sobriety, and Tina can speak to this, given she's walked this road. Certainly it involves clearly not using mind-altering substances, but there's a lot more to it than that. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of seeing the world. And there's not one way to recover, but certainly there are themes that are best practices, put it that way.
Yes, yes.
I have a lot to be grateful for. You know, clearly someone in my life like Tina, the fact that her husband and Tina saw out of the corner of their eye. I mean, like I said, this is such a country road they were on. I mean, I don't even know how words don't describe it, the gratitude I have towards the Blakes. But towards the universe, towards the world, I have gratitude. And that's why, you know, as Tina said, I know I don't fit that stereotype, but the reality was I had a very serious methamphetamine addiction and clearly did, as you saw that day in the woods. I feel so grateful. I want to go tell the story because it is a powerful story.
Yes.
You know, as well as the story of, you know, what happened in the hospital when I went to my best friend and said, you know, I think I'm dying. And it's all on the website. What happened? You know, I want to break those stereotypes because stigma is just so dangerous. Yes. You know, it keeps people from getting the help they need. And then the ripple effect, you know, on the families, you know, mental illness, but particularly addiction, which is my primary focus. You know, it's a family disease.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Everyone needs to. The family has recovery as much as the addict does.
Yes. So, what do you think about that, Tina? Do you also believe that it's a family disease? Because I mean, you're 5 years clean, which is beautiful. But I mean, how did you go through all your pain with opioids?
With the opioids, it was hard. You know, I went through with the opiates, and then I also went with heroin. And, you know, when I came off, because my family kept telling me that I had a problem, I went through denial, but I had so much from my past that I just wanted to hide that pain. And that's what I was doing with the opiates and with the heroin. And so when it came time, I said, you know, I'm tired of this. I had pretty much lost everything except for my home. And I said, it's time for me to get help. And when I got help, as Kevin said, my family also, you know, I felt that they needed the help because they went through that addiction with me. And, you know, they didn't get the help. And because the insurance wouldn't cover it, you know, and I went through the methadone clinic to get help. Luckily, my insurance covered it. I got clean. I'm still clean. I have not relapsed. And, you know, I feel great. But that's why I want to try to help people also. And I'll help anyone, you know, I don't care who you are, what your background is. If there's something that I can do to help someone with addiction, I will do it. If I have people that have family members that, you know, have went through it with, say, their kids or whatever, and I'll talk to them about it because I know how my mom felt when I was an addict. And, you know, my mother passed away 2 years ago, but I was lucky enough that before she passed away, I was able to get clean, and she seen that I was on the right track, and she knew that I was going and doing the right things and trying to help others. I even did some talking at the methadone clinic to try to help people.
Wow. Wow, that's really great. So who saved Tina?
Actually, who saved Tina was myself and my husband. We did it together because we were both addicts. We're both recovering addicts of coming up on 5 years. We both just decided that it wasn't our life anymore. You know, we have 2 beautiful little girls that, you know, we always made sure our bills were paid and our kids were taken care of. But other than that, our money went to our addiction. And we were tired of that. We were tired of living the moment for putting it to our addiction, you know, any opiates that we could get. I have a back problem. I had a doctor that was giving me my medication, but giving it to me too much. And, you know, he's like, you'll never be able to have a normal life without opiates. Well, I'm 5 years without opiates, and I'm living every day, and I live very happy with 2 beautiful little girls and my wonderful husband and a beautiful friend like Kevin.
It's beautiful. So you can have it all after addiction, right, Kevin?
Yes, you can.
There's an expression they say in yes, you can. There's an expression they say in recovery circles that you can't turn a pickle back into a cucumber. So when you walk this road, it does change you. But that change, I think, can be for the better. You know, I've always been someone who tries to grow where I'm planted emotionally and physically. I feel like I'm a better human being. I mean, I was always a compassionate person, and social justice has always been something that's important to me. But I think now I have a particular sensitivity towards not judging on the surface, you know. And again, as I said, when you really hear the stories about what leads people into addiction, or you see the horror of it, you know, the savage nature of the cycle, because that's what it is. Addiction's a cycle. Yes. And having gone through it myself, you know, and the never, never, never again. I mean, that's what I would always say, never again, never again, never again. When something bad would happen.
Till the next time.
Exactly. And of course, because addiction is a progressive disease, the never agains happen more frequently and with more fervor because more and more problems come from it. You know, so.
Sorry, Kevin, have you found freedom?
Oh, I have, indeed. Service is how I find freedom. And I see this as a form of service, is helping other people, partnering with someone like Tina on this. You know, I think she and I are looking forward to really trying to share this story because it is powerful. You know, I mean, driving down the road and seeing a body laying in the woods. I am a clean cut guy. You know, I have many flaws, but I am. And I also have a neck problem, or had one, I should say. I'm in recovery. But my point is, I find freedom by helping other people and using my gifts and talents from employment law to help people and their families get back on their feet professionally when insurance just by definition doesn't handle that. So that's how I found freedom.
What else is there for Kevin besides your foundation?
Well, I'm writing a book, Tell Me True Tina, which you'll have to read to hear the whole story. But there's a lot more to the story of the Hyer Calling Foundation than just this. And it's a powerful story about breaking stereotypes. And we're also planning to adapt that into a movie. So there are a lot of cool things coming down the road, and I'm going to be donating all the profits to the foundation. So that's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's going to happen. And what's next for Kevin is really just getting out there with people like Tina and touching lives positively and using my higher calling, I got blessed with the last name that plays well into it, to say to people, yes, decent people can have a drug problem. And that's part of the story because there's more to it than this. And if you can talk about it and reduce the judgment around it, people can get help and then get back on the game. but get back on the road to recovery in life. It doesn't have to be this scary, horrifying thing.
Yes, I agree with that. So, Tina, what about you? Have you found freedom?
Yes, I have. Yes.
What does it look like for you?
Me, being able to help, like Kevin, being able to help others, that is my main goal right now. Because I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I try to, I know of people that have went to the clinic and stuff, to try to get help, and then they've relapsed and stuff. And so I try to talk to them, and, I try to get out there and, put my story of what I went through and why I got on drugs, and then turned around and got myself clean. And then, now with Kevin and with his story, which was a major story because, it's something that just don't happen every day. I mean, like Kevin said, going down the road and just out of the corner of your eye, about 20 feet off the road, you see someone laying in the little roadway. You don't expect that. So I'm hoping that from my addiction and getting clean, and from what we went through with Kevin, that out of all this, we can get people help and, as he said, break the stereotyping.
I love that. That is beautiful. And it's so beautiful that now you're friends and you're collaborating for a bigger purpose. And of course, it's all about the bigger purpose anyway, because that's obviously how it was meant to be, because that's why you met. It's also interesting, Tina, how you broke your fear, because a lot of people would have been afraid. If they saw someone lying in the street, a lot of people would have been afraid because they wouldn't have known, is he faking it? Is he going to jump up and stab me and steal my stuff? People have all these crazy stories. So even that is very commendable. And it's a beautiful story of a good Samaritan. And I love those stories.
I love them too. If anyone loves them, I love them.
Right. You're a testament of the realness of it, right?
It's a testimony to not just doing the right thing, but seeing the common humanity. Again, Tina's really the one who should speak to this, not me, because I've never been in the position of finding somebody lying, in a wooded area. But, we're all God's children. However you conceptualize a higher power, part of the beauty of recovery is you can understand it as it speaks to you.
Yes.
There's not one to do it.
Yes.
But, we really genuinely want to help people, and we think it's a powerful story. I've made the commitment to put all the profits into it from the book and film adaptation, which is going to come. So anything people can do to help with our cause, and it's not even just money; it's time. Like I said to people, if you live in a community and you're in a certain profession, you could help someone in recovery or their family, because again, addiction is such a family disease. Get back on their feet and move forward, and that fights the war on drugs. Because when you have something to live for, you're less likely to relapse. That's where the magic happens, is the connections with other people, the positive energy in your life.
Yes.
Like I said.
Yes. So it's lifting each other up and just growing together, which
We're
is
all
a
in this
beautiful
together.
thing. Yes.
We're all in this together.
Yes. What suggestions, Tina, would you have for somebody who has a child or someone that's addicted and they don't know what to do?
For someone that has a child and they don't know what to do, my advice for them would be get out there, talk to someone, don't sit and feel that no one cares, because someone out there cares. And, before I got help, for my addiction, that was something that I felt that no one cared, you know. Everyone felt bad on me because I was just, as they all called me, I was just a drug addict, you know. Oh, she'll be okay, or, you know, she'll end up killing herself one day. And I don't like that. Everyone has a purpose here on this earth. And, you know, everyone is God's child. And so anyone that feels that they don't have a purpose or they don't know what to do, talk to someone, anyone, you know, go and get help, because there is a better world out there. I never thought that it was, but since I have gotten clean, and I have been clean for almost 5 years, I have a new life. I feel great. I feel like I can actually help someone now, when before I was scared to even talk to anyone because I felt that people looked down on me because I was the drug addict. And now I'm the recovering drug addict that has done something with her life and improved her life.
I love that. So you see, there's hope. There's hope. Just reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out, and don't be ashamed or embarrassed, because there's help, and the Hyer Calling Foundation is just a call away, right?
It is, and I'll share with you, in addition to our primary work, you know, around helping people get back on their feet professionally and their family, we have an initiative, and it's on the website, called "What's Your Hyer Calling?" And we italicize "your" to make people really think about it. You know, we all have different ones. There's not one that's better or worse than the other. We all have them. You know, and as Tina was saying, you know, there is a better life out there. And when you tap into that energy, you know, it really gives you a sense of fulfillment that drugs never would. You know, and that's for me what's let me move forward, is a natural high, you know, that methamphetamine could never give. And, you know, I'm a better person for it. So we challenge them to think about these things in that form.
Yes, I love that. As long as if you've got meaning and purpose, it also just directs your life, and you realize that, you know, you can get high on life without drugs and alcohol. But it's a process, and don't be afraid to reach out. Thank you so much, Tina and Kevin. This was awesome. Kevin, we will have all the details of your Hyer Calling Foundation in the description box. So if anybody wants to donate their time, money, this is a beautiful initiative. Let's go out and change the face of addiction. Let's change the stereotypes. Let's help people out, because you know what? Underneath those addicts or substance abusers or whatever you want to call them, there's a beautiful soul, and there's probably some very talented person who can make a difference in our society. We just have to give them a chance. So on that beautiful note, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you here. I loved the story, and hopefully people can go out and see that, you know what, that person in the street could be anybody. So just take a bit of time and don't be afraid. That's why this is called Break Fear, Find Freedom. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.